Good afternoon, I'm Milton Walker with the Midday News. A special welcome if you are watching on onespotmedia.com. Parliament earlier this week passed the Data Protection Bill. The passing of the bill comes as the government seeks to have the National Identification Systems Bill, NIDS, passed. But it also will facilitate other government programs. More in this report.
Concerns were raised last year over the protection of data of the Jamaican citizenry when the government tried to pass the National Identification Systems Bill. That was subsequently struck down when Chief Justice Brian Sykes ruled that the bill was null and void and of no legal effect. The opposition had challenged the bill, noting that certain provisions of the National Identification and Registration Act infringes particular rights outlined in the Constitution of Jamaica. But on Tuesday, opposition spokesman on technology Julian Robinson noted that the passing of such a bill has further teeth for other governmental programs, such as the COVID-19 assistance program CARE. He shared how this bill will work.
If I have submitted my data to the government for an application for a COVID grant, I own that data. That data cannot be shared with any other third party, and if it is to be shared, I would have to give consent. If it is shared without my permission, the person who did that commits an offense under the Data Protection Act.
If passed by the Senate, the act will allow for an oversight committee to be established with a new office called the Information Commissioner. The committee will be served by appointments by the Prime Minister and will be staffed by a retired judge of the Supreme Court, an attorney with the understanding of data protection, plus 4 other members. But why is that important?
The importance of this, Mr. Speaker, is that we have seen in other commissions of Parliament where individuals have been allowed to go off on a frolic of their own. And I believe the establishment of this oversight committee is a step in ensuring that while we want independence for an information commissioner, there are appropriate safeguards to hold that individual accountable.
In her contribution to the debate, Attorney General Marlene Malahou Fort said the legislation would have to be kept under constant review and update.
When laws require the kind of public education that this will require and the kind of retrofitting of government and elsewhere, usually different provisions can be brought into effect at different times. And that is exactly what this law has provided for. It will come into operation on a day appointed by the minister by notice in the Gazette, and different days may be appointed in respect of different provisions of the Act. And I just ask the minister, when the decision is being taken in respect of which provisions to bring in at which time, bear in mind the importance of ensuring that those who are to administer the Act really know what they are about.
In the meantime, a recommendation for a public education campaign was suggested by opposition spokesman on information and technology, Julian Robinson. Mr. Robinson noted that one of the most effective ways to ensure that the Data Protection Act is implemented well is for all citizens to know what their rights are under the Act. It's a decision which was agreed to by Minister of Technology, Favor Williams.
In the new regime of the Data Protection Act, everyone responsible for using our personal data has to follow the law. The new law will ensure that if our personal data is used, it is used fairly, lawfully, and transparently for specified and explicit purposes, used in a way that is adequate, relevant, and limited to only what is necessary. It is accurate and, where necessary, kept up to date, and it's handled in a way that ensures appropriate security, including protection against unlawful or unauthorized processing, access, loss, destruction, or damage.
Now, the Data Protection Bill requires that data should only be obtained for specific lawful purposes with the consent of the individual and not to be further used or processed in any way incompatible with the original purpose. For Attorney at Law John Clark, who was speaking on the morning agenda on Friday, the stipulations for the misuse of information under the law is adequate.
There are very stiff penalties provided by the Act, and in fact, there are also penalties not only for the person who misuses it, but for the organization who would have facilitated that misuse. And the persons can be prosecuted and can be fined.
This prosecution and fining that you see under the Act, do you feel confident that your data is secure because of these strict sanctions that are put in the Act?
Yes, I feel that our data is very, very secure because, in fact, we have, comparing the current system now to the system that will entail afterwards, this is a system that is welcome, one, and two, we're not saying it's a foolproof system, but invariably with every single act, there will come a time when we'll have to review it to ensure it is being complied with and to ensure that any shortcomings are dealt with.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The University of the West Indies, the UWI Mona, is reeling from the economic fallout caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, with a tertiary institution revealing that it was hard-pressed to meet this month's payroll. A memo yesterday from the university's registrar to staff said, as a result of its deteriorating financial position, compounded by the pandemic, it was experiencing challenges and therefore not in a position to pay monthly salaries. The university said it would try to pay its employees by Wednesday. When contacted last night, UWI Mona Registrar Donovan Stanbury told our news centre that after the memo was issued, the university received a lifeline. As a result, Mr. Stanbury said salaries will be paid today.
It's no secret that all tertiary institutions are in the throes of financial difficulties brought on by, well, what I would term the sudden onset of COVID. I mean, UWI is no different. All over Jamaica, tuition fees have plunged, and it no doubt affected us. We foresaw some difficulty in making pay bill on Friday, so we thought it was prudent to alert our workers, our staff, as to the possibility of not being able to make it. So that memo was sent out in that spirit. However, we have been able to make some extraordinary efforts, and I think we have overcome that difficulty.
Mr. Stanbury declined to state the source of the funds which the university received late yesterday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is expected to give a timeline for allowing other ships to bring home Jamaican workers on Monday. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang told journalists yesterday afternoon that a schedule is currently being worked on.
There are 3 major ships to come in, but there's actually about 9 cruise lines. The 3 big ones, there's Disney, there's Carnival, and there's Norwegian Caribbean cruise lines. All 3 are being, the government are in dialogue with all 3, and we'll bring them in very quickly. Timeline? I don't want to give a final timeline. We make a collective decision on all of this. It's a very sensitive area. And on Monday, the Prime Minister will be able to announce the timeline for all of them.
Financial experts have painted a grim picture of the impact of COVID-19 on the Jamaican pension industry. Member of the Pensions Industry Association of Jamaica, Dennis Chung, addressed the matter last night at the RJR Gleaners Communications Group virtual town hall meeting.
Member of the Pensions Industry Association of Jamaica, Dennis Chung, and Professor of International Business at the UWI Mona, Denzel Williams, are predicting massive losses to come in the medium term as the fallout continues. The predictions are the latest in a series of negative forecasts for the Jamaican economy due to the ripple effects of COVID-19 restrictions. Low business activity has resulted in layoffs and redundancies, and this has caused a sharp drop in income, which it's believed will affect pension funds. Mr. Chung asserts that a crisis is developing which could emerge in the next few years for persons who intend to retire if things do not change drastically. He explained the depth of the problem while speaking on the RJR Gleaner Communications Group virtual town hall meeting on Thursday.
The contributions to pension get less. Now that's a situation that a lot of people have not been talking about, because when you think about it, Dion, what is going to happen in a few years when people are ready to retire? Pension funds gone down in terms of the value. The contributions went down. So the amount of annuity available to people are going to be less. So we have that crisis looking at in a few years, and already only about 10% of the population had any pension.
In the meantime, Professor Denzel Williams agrees that there is pending financial disaster, but he says there is another angle which should be considered.
That has to do with the interest rates as well. because a lot of the pension funds will be investing in all kinds of different asset class. And now when the interest rate is so low and the yield curve is actually trending down, you realize that the investment that you're making is not giving you enough return so that you can pay the kinds of pension that people would be getting. So as a result of that, you will find that the pension funds going forward will be struggling to actually pay their monthly contribution. And as I said, as Dennis said earlier, with less people contributing to the fund as well because of the furloughing of workers and also people losing their jobs. That in and of itself impacts on the pool of funds that these pension funds have to invest. So, I mean, it's going to be a troublesome issue going forward.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
We take a break now on Midday News. We'll be right back. Welcome back, continuing the news. The quarantine imposed on sections of St. Mary has been lifted. Residents of Dover, Enfield and Onotta Bay in St. Mary are expressing relief that they're able to leave their communities after being in quarantine for 2 weeks. The measure ended at midnight. The 3 communities were placed under quarantine due to a spike in COVID-19 cases. Member of Parliament for South East St. Mary, Dr. Norman Dunn, says the residents were cooperative. He says they are now trying to stock up on supplies.
The residents are very, very happy that they are now able to move around completely on their own. However, they're also very thankful to the authorities for instituting the quarantine. And I must say, as a member of Parliament, I'm very, very proud of them in how they conducted themselves during this period. They were very cooperative with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, as well as with the security forces. And they're quite appreciative of the help and the intervention from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the wellness staff that came around from house to house to check on their status. They are very aware of why it was done. They agreed that it was important to have been done. And happily, we have had no new case in the area. And that is something that we're very, very grateful about.
2 persons escaped death after the vehicle in which they were traveling in collided with another vehicle in Stewart Town, St. Mary this morning. It's understood that about 8:30, a taxi carrying 2 passengers was traveling along the Stewart Town main road, heading towards Ocherius when another taxi attempted to make a U-turn in the middle of the road.
I was just crossing the road and him come in and him just slip me. I don't have nothing more to say because right now, I never see him. May I tell you?
He was spinning around the road, someone already clear up himself. And he come back around by the man, the man could not know again.
In that drive, take up from him and going at him. But you see, if this driver I could drive, would have dead. Trust me. And you could drive, would have dead.
World Athletics President Sebastian Coe expects only home-based athletes to compete if some countries are able to stage their national championships later this summer. World Athletics has set aside the weekend of August 8 and 9 as a protected window for national championships, following this disruption of the international competition calendar by the coronavirus pandemic. Lord Coe elaborated on the plan in a recent exclusive interview with TVJ Sports.
We're not looking through our national championships to engage with global athletes to come in and out of that competition. You know, we recognise that it may not be possible for federations to stage their national championships then, but we feel that at least it gives them the opportunity, because we're not asking athletes to come through borders or airports or contravene quarantine. Those athletes will be resident in those countries. Now, some will be in those countries where lockdown makes it difficult for them to be even competing at that time. That we recognise. But we have given the opportunity for those countries that feel that they can provide a platform for their athletes at the national championships to do so.
While admitting that uncertainty still lingers, J3A's president, Dr. Warren Blake, told TVJ Sports a week ago that the August 8 and 9 date gives the local governing body renewed hope of staging the national championships, also known as the national trials. And that's Midday News. I'm Milton Walker. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.